Alright, so there we are. So hi everybody, just making sure the stream was caught up. But yeah, we are live now. Let's see, hopefully we got a lot of people watching this time. It's weird that my live stream doesn't tell me how many people are watching. But yes, we are live here in the train room where I have my newest locomotive running right now. So, yeah, and you'll see it coming by in just a... Here we go. Just a second. Hello, Ryan. Hello, TNS Rocks. Hello, Mark. Hello, Norse Nerd Meister. This is Ken. Okay. Hey, Ken. How's it going? Connor's Creations. Hello. I did. Yes, I got a new locomotive. So, yeah. Hello, Ozzy. Yeah, I wanted to get back into working on the model railroad, and so I for the holidays I had a whole bunch of boxes in here. Like right where I'm sitting was a huge stack of boxes. It was all my dad's stuff. And so I was like, I want to get back into working on this, and I need the office cleared out so I could access the model railroad. And so, yeah, got it all done, cleaned all the tracks, I literally cleaned every last wheel of everything I have that goes on this track. That's a lot of wheels. You know, it was a lot. It was certainly a lot. But, Don England says, is it raining there? It's kind of raining on and off. It's very infrequent. It's a very cloudy day, that's for sure. And it's a little bit damp outside, but not much. Actually, not much. Hello, Jeffrey. Ken says, Alex, I sold my Forney on eBay because I couldn't get it to run on my layout. Sold it to a gentleman who used to work for Godshaw Sugar Company, who used to own the Fred Gurley. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought, I remember when you told me that the Forney wouldn't run correctly on your layout. I thought that was so weird because, you know, I've had the Forney, like both of mine. I have two Forneys. I've had both of them pull all 14 cars that I own, and you know, it works just fine. So yeah, I don't know why yours didn't work very well. But yeah, so I don't know how many people are watching. For some reason, it just doesn't tell me that kind of thing anymore. Oh, concurrent viewers, so 23. Now that's lower than usual. The bit rate is lower than the recommended. Can I change that? No, hold on. Settings. Because I don't want to stream a low bit rate. Like, that is just not... Let's see, advanced. General. Output, let's see. Streaming. I don't remember if this bitrate thing is a problem I had last time. Okay. Because I think the memory's coming back to me, but I think last time I did a stream from here, apply. Okay. Did that improve it? Let's see. Yeah, last time I did a stream from here, I do remember it only streaming at like 720, and I was going, what in the world? Okay, so let's see. Ryan says, I heard down here in California we are getting more rain. Oh, okay. Ken says, the issue with mine was it kept uncoupling from the cars and had some electrical pickup issues. May have just been a dud. Gonna replace it with a 262 trench locomotive. Oh yeah, the trench locomotive should work a lot better for you. Yeah, that's strange. Well, okay, so the second Forney I got, which is... I don't think you can even see it on any of my cameras. It's the one right here by the water tower. So it's right there by my finger. That second Forney, it had a lot of uncoupling issues. And what I ended up doing was I ended up changing out the coupler. Because there's different types of couplers. Some that have a coupler that's higher up, that's lower down, or center. And I think it turned out what I really needed. Because, I mean, I kid you not, it's like a hair of a difference. But I ended up having to look for a center shank coupler because the ones I had were either high or low, and it would cause uncoupling issues either way. So it was kind of like a pain in the neck to hunt down a center shank coupler that needed to be extra long. Because around these turns, the end of the Forney will push the end of the locomotive away from the track around a turn, and that can, you know, haul the cars right off the track. And so by having a longer coupler, it prevented it from doing that as well. So I had to find an extra long center shank coupler, and I did, thankfully. But yeah, so let me show you guys a cool image. Oh, Mateo's here. Hey, Mateo. So Connor's Creation says, when did you get the new engine? Okay, so I'll show you a picture. There we go. So that's a picture, basically, of what the engine is that's running behind me. It is a classic American 440, and it's made by Bachmann, and of course my whole layout, in case you didn't already know, is On30 scale. So it's O scale, narrow gauge. It represents a 30-inch gauge between the rails. And so, yeah, I was really lucky because, you know, Mateo, who's in the chat, you know, I was talking to a seller, I was looking up stuff on eBay, and this seller was selling like all kinds of On30 locomotives for really cheap prices. And sometimes you have to be really cautious, because if someone's selling something for a very cheap price, then, you know, it's probably no good. But I had a good feeling about this person. It seemed like... well, a lot of times what happens is when someone who owns a model railroad dies, their family has to get rid of all the stuff. So they sell everything off one by one, but they don't know what everything is worth. And sometimes they're in a hurry to get rid of it. So this seemed like one of those situations where the family was in a hurry to get rid of these locomotives, and they probably didn't even know what they were worth. And they sold them for really, really, really cheap. And so I told my friend Mateo, I'm like, dude, he's got this one engine, you gotta buy it. I'm like, because it is super cheap. And then I was looking at this one, and I was like, I really can't afford another engine right now. But at the same time, the 440 is the engine I've always wanted. It's the whole reason why I got into this scale, was because I really wanted a 440. But I never was able to get one. I have a Porter locomotive and 2 Forney locomotives. And I love those kinds, but my favorite is a 440. So it's, yeah, I ended up just forking over the money for it. And I love it. It's actually one of the most reliable engines I have on this layout. And it's smaller than I thought it would be, which is actually a good thing, because I was worried that this was going to be a really big, long engine, and the larger the engine on this layout, the less reliably it operates, because the turns are so tight. But this one runs just fine. So go ahead and remove that. Ken says that 440 you got is a great engine. Yeah, thanks. I mean, I love it. It's already my favorite one on this whole thing. It just runs really great. And then you can kind of see this in this video, you can see that there is a car with a little crane on the end of it. I got that for Christmas. That's called a maintenance of way derrick car. And it's designed to help load and unload things from a train car out in the field when workers are doing maintenance work on the railroad. And so I got that as a gift, and I was really happy to have it. And when I ran it around the whole layout, it did not fit through the tunnel. It was way too tall. Both the crane and the smokestack from the boiler of the derrick car. And so the derrick car did not fit at all. So it's going to have to be a display piece, because there's no way I'm tearing down part of that mountain to increase the size of the tunnel. So yeah, that mountain was a pain in the neck, and I'm still not done with it. And so I'm not going to rip it apart just to run that car all the way around. And I wouldn't have ran it around the layout frequently anyway, so it's not like I'm missing out on anything. But yeah, it is on display. Okay, let's see here. Just reading through people's comments. Eric, how's it going? I'm not gonna crash my trains. Oh, you see the Challenger. How do you see that? Oh, you do see that. Oh, wow. I'm surprised you can you can see that from this thing. The Challenger is my father's engine. He bought that in 2003. So it is well over 20 years old, and it was actually kind of funny because we've never ran it. You know, like I never had a full layout at the time that he bought it, so we never ran it. And he had it in boxes for 2 decades. And the other day, as we were clearing out this office so I could work on this again, in one of the boxes was his Challenger locomotive, and the train that goes with it, and I said, you know, I've got a layout. It's O scale, but the tracks are HO scale, and his locomotive is an HO scale. So I said, you could run it on the layout, you know, and so yeah, we ran it for the first time ever since he bought it. And it went around the whole layout just fine. It didn't fit. You know, my dad was like, oh yeah, you can obviously see that it's definitely not the same scale. But, you know, we ran it around the whole track and for a couple of minutes, and took some video, took some photos of it. And I had already, I think like 7 years ago, I had built a special shelf for housing well, not housing, but for holding the whole train, the whole Challenger train, and he never used it. Again, the train was always in a box, so he had the shelf forever, and the shelf was never set up, never put on a wall. And so I said, well, if you still got the shelf, I can put the shelf up, and we can display the train. So we did. So I put the shelf up, displayed the train, and now it's up there. I'm really surprised you could see that. But yeah. You know, in fact, I think I could move that up. And then this one, I could probably decrease the size. That does help, because then I don't have to, like, constantly keep my face over here. I can kind of move around a little bit. So yeah, now you can see the Challenger way up there. Alright, so now let's get to more questions. Moonzer says, let's talk about the Cunarder train, the train that took passengers to the Southampton Ocean terminal so passengers can board. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, so I don't think that's something I can do right now, but what I can tell everybody is exactly what you just said. It was the Cunarder was a train that took people to the Southampton terminal so they could board either the Queen Mary or Queen Elizabeth or other Cunard liners. Let's see here. Top impressive line. Hello. Yes, I heard the Keewatin will open in Kingston. Do I have any plans to make any videos on the ship? No, because I would need to travel there to take video, and I can't do that. So it's not really possible for me to make a video on it. At least not in the moment. Maybe in the long distance future I might be able to travel there, but for now it's not really something I can do. Okay, so let me try to get... Everett says, what kind of shoving plan? I don't have a shoving plan right now for the layout. I just do what I do. I mean, there is a spur line right here for doing, for loading and unloading freight. There will eventually be, like, ore chute on the other side of the mountain, where ore can be loaded onto the flat cars, or the shallow gondola cars is what I mean to say. And then there is a spur line that you can see in the video here, where the derrick car is sitting. That is a logging spur. So that is a bridge that goes over the river, and logs can be dumped into the river. And at the very end of the track where you see the derrick car sitting, that's where there will be like a cordwood cutting station for the town. So I will be using, or so to speak, the derrick car to load, what do you call them? I just said the word. Cordwood, chopped cordwood onto wagons and things for the townspeople to use. Oh yeah, Ken, the maintenance of way vehicles can be pretty expensive, yeah. Conrad, it's going well. Ozzy says, Mr. Squeakers, what's come out? No, so, first of all, that was not the official name of the engine. The engine is officially now named Esther. Each one of my engines has a name. And so the one that I used to call Mr. Squeaky is now called Esther. And part of that reason why is because I fixed the squeak permanently. So I guess is a good time to give good advice to some folks who like to do model railroading. So let me, well, first I want to see how many people are, yeah, it's just 29 people. But if you do model railroading, one thing I cannot promote enough is this product called No Ox ID A Special. It's a weird name, I know. But it's basically a very dense grease that you put a very light film of it on the rails. And what that does is it promotes better electrical connectivity, so your engines run a lot better on the track without any kind of electrical skipping or stuff like that. And it also prevents the rails from oxidizing as badly as they do when they're dry. And so I used to have to clean the tracks after every session of running trains. I don't have to do that anymore. I can go weeks and weeks before I feel like cleaning the tracks. And I imagine, because I think whenever I'm using this a lot, I tend to clean the tracks maybe once every 3 weeks. But I don't even think that's necessary because they still run perfectly fine. I just do it because I feel like, oh, enough time has elapsed that I probably should. But this stuff makes it so you don't really have to clean the tracks at all. I've heard stories of some people that said they put this stuff on there on the tracks just once and they didn't have to clean the tracks for 12 years. So this stuff is a miracle. And because it is a grease, though, it does decrease tractive effort, or not tractive effort. It decreases, what do you call it? The friction of the steel wheels on the steel rails. So some people who've put too much of it on the rails can experience wheel slip. But as you can see, my trains run fine. They don't slip. They pull a decent amount of cars without any kind of slip. So yeah, this stuff is really great. It's not a sponsor of the video, but I just like using it. And I cleaned the tracks the other day, applied another layer of this, and it's been running fine ever since. But yes, the engine that I call Esther, I'll bring that out in a little bit, and we'll switch out the train. But I don't want to run this one for, a full 90 minutes, but yeah, so that's what we'll do. And then, let's see, gotta get back to this. So, Transportation Fan says, do you plan on customizing your locomotive, such as maybe adding a diamond stack to the 440? So, one of my locomotives already has been customized. The one I was just talking about called Esther, I have actually repainted that locomotive, and I changed out its fluted stack. So it's that the stack it had was called a fluted stack. I changed that out for a cap stack, a brass cap stack, and I think I'll just show that to you guys in a bit because you probably want to see it anyway. So, but yeah, I changed it out for a cap stack, and that was my little contribution to that engine because I just felt it made I think you'll probably agree when you see it. It makes the engine look a lot nicer. But I do not like diamond stacks on these locomotives. These locomotives, in my opinion, do not look good with diamond stacks. Especially the locomotive that's running right now, the 440, which I'll show you a picture again. It'll help illustrate my point. It's not designed for a diamond stack. It would look weird. It would look out of place for this specific type of 440. So, yeah, there won't be any diamond stacks or anything. I'm actually happy with how all 4 of my locomotives look right now. So yeah, let's see here. Top impressive line. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think eventually they will be. A lot of people disagreed with me on it, but I still believe it. I still believe that ships will be a reliable method of transportation for people who have the time and money to take them. So, I think that was the thing about that video that a lot of people misunderstood. Even though I said it numerous times in the video, I said that ships would come back but service a clientele who have the time and money to take ships. But immediately everybody was like, no, they couldn't compete with airplanes unless they were faster and cheaper. And I'm like, I never said anything about them competing with airplanes. Obviously, an airplane will always outdo a ship every time. But people just did not... I got so much backlash for that video. People did not pay attention. And they got upset. I mean, just... Some people were just like, oh, you're an idiot, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa. These people... History on the Lake says, love the trains you are running. Where did you get them? eBay. Everything you see behind me, either eBay or I built it. So, yeah, pretty easy. Killer of Rock and Roll says, amazing job so far. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, I just answered that one. Okay. So, History on the Lakes, to answer your question again. Oh, okay, you removed it. Okay. So, yeah. Everything I bought was basically, like, either from eBay or I just built everything myself. You know, the trestle bridge you see right here, built that entirely myself. I engineered it myself. It's not from a kit. I literally drew the plans on paper and designed it and then built it, all based off of bridges I have seen. And, yeah, I am very proud of that trestle bridge. The only thing is, whenever I move houses and stuff, and I need to move the whole layout, parts of the trestle bridge will break off, and then when I get to the next house and set everything up, I have to repair the bridge. But it's a pretty simple design, so it's not hard to repair it. I have an engine house back here, which holds the... It's only got space for 2 engines, but the engine house holds the Forney locomotive that I call Esther, and then it holds the 440 locomotive that I call Joe. And so the third engine on the track is the Porter locomotive. It's a little tiny locomotive, and that basically only hauls my logging train, and that one just sits out in the open on a bridge. So, it's 1:30, so I have 1 more hour left on this live stream. Thank you, History on the Lakes. Skidoo says it's a nice looking bridge. Thank you. Transportation fan says, hey, oh, he's talking to his, okay. I don't remember that. Okay. That's pretty cool. Or is he talking to me? I can't tell if that was a comment directed at me or talking to somebody else. Conrad says, Alex, before you end this stream, can you hold a camera and show the whole layout? I'm especially interested in the water feature you had. I could try, but there's something weird that happens with these cameras. If you like try to move it and the connection is lost even for a millisecond, the video stops working and then it just freeze frames. Because I did that in the past at the end of a train live stream. I moved my cameras around so you could see the whole layout, and then it just stopped working. People couldn't see what I was showing them. So I don't know. We'll try to do it. Lachlan says, is there space for tea times next to the railway, or is the room too small? The room is too small, and plus I plan to only do tea time live streams in my tea time corner that I set up for specifically for that purpose. I wanted to separate the train stuff from the ocean liner stuff, particularly because the tea times that I do are all like, it's all China from the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. So, you know, I wanted to keep it ocean liner trains. In fact, something I didn't tell you guys yet is that this will be the last time you see anything model railroad related on this channel. I'm moving everything that has to do with trains back to my old channel called Alex the Railroader. And that's a channel I abandoned many years ago because I was going through a lot of different things in my life and I couldn't, you know, operate trains and stuff like that. I was going, you know, full force on the Alex the Historian channel and pushing that forward. And so I started combining, when I started getting back into trains, I combined the Alex the Historian channel with the train stuff, but then it caused a problem because I had people coming here for the train stuff, but then they wouldn't watch any of my other stuff. And then I had people that were coming here for ocean liner stuff, and then they weren't watching any of my train stuff. Case in point, my tea time streams can get anywhere from 55 to 65 viewers at any given moment. Right now I only have 33 on this one. And that's not bad, but, you know, a different channel for a different purpose can actually really benefit the viewers because they'll come to that channel because it has everything that they're looking for. And it's even funny, I'm thinking about starting a third channel just because, you know, like, I want to produce more stuff that's not just trains, not just ocean liners. I never wanted my channel to only be about ocean liners. But for some reason, I can only get ocean liner viewers on this channel. It's been very frustrating because I like talking about more than just ships. I'm not even really a ship fan. That's the irony of it. I'm a big fan of the Queen Mary, but I'm really not much of an ocean liner fanatic. I just like the Queen Mary, and I like old trains, and I like historic places. And I tried to put out videos about historic places and historic events. They just don't get the traction on this channel that I wanted, unfortunately. And so I'm even thinking about moving all of my historic places stuff to a different channel to attract viewers there. It's crazy because there's channels I know that combine all kinds of history. Like, you know, the channel It's History. He does anything. Trains, places, ships, people, anything. And people go and watch it. And, you know, but for some reason on this channel, no matter what I put out, people only want to watch the ocean liner stuff. And even then, they don't watch all the ocean liner stuff. I put out ocean liner stuff, and then weeks later people go, oh, you should make this video about this. And I'm like, I did. Nobody watched it. You know, so I don't know. This channel's been very difficult to kind of like gauge what people want to see. Because what they tell me they want to see is not what they go to see. So it's been challenging. So I thought, well, maybe if I move all my train stuff to a train channel, then that might fix that problem. And then move historic places videos to a video about historic places, or to a channel about historic places. And then this channel is just whenever I post stuff about ships or Queen Mary. Which is unfortunate because the name is Alex the Historian. I did it that way because, you know, like I wanted, you know, people to be able to enjoy all kinds of history. But yeah, it has been very much a challenge in that way. But yeah, in the description below is a link to the Alex the Railroader channel, and I actually filmed a video before this live stream that I plan to put together and put on that channel as soon as I can. But you know, we'll see. Because it's already difficult to run one channel, but to run two is like, wow. You know. So I'll do what I can. History on the Lake says, what other trains do you want on your layout? None. Now that I have the locomotive I've always wanted, I already have all the cars that I ever wanted. So, none. I've got all the rolling stock that I ever wanted for this layout. And I've already maxed out the space. Because I have 4 locomotives, but only 3 tracks to keep them on. So, I've actually gone over the limit of what I can keep on this layout in terms of rolling stock. So I'm actually very happy with where it's at, and you know, and how much I have. The next step now is just to get the landscaping on the layout done, you know, and get it all worked out. And the landscaping, it's weird. The landscaping part can be very fun, because you're being very creative and you're creating all kinds of natural features. But then it can also be very challenging, because sometimes you're putting something together like a mountain, and it just doesn't want to go together the way you're trying to make it go together. You know, an example is on the back side of this mountain, I've had to repaint it multiple times, because there's something about the plaster underneath the paint that keeps leaching through the primer and the layers of paint. I don't know what it is. I've tried different techniques to stop it, but for some reason the plaster leaches through all those layers, and you see, like, it looks like it's the back side of the mountain looks like it has sweat stains. And it doesn't happen with the front side of the mountain, just the back side. So it looks like it has sweat stains on the back. And like I said, I've repainted it multiple times. I've added primer layers. It leaches through. I don't know what it is, but it does that. It's like the weirdest thing. And it only happens on the back side of the mountain. It's just strange. Let's see here. Key4RNA says, what are your thoughts on digital versus analog setup? Oh, okay. So for those of you that don't know, what he's asking about, when you have model railroads, you kind of have a choice. You could run a system on analog power, which is what mine runs on. It's DC, so direct current, and it's all analog. So basically, you turn the dial up on the speed controller, and that directly affects the speed by increasing the power to the rails. And the thing about that is, generally speaking, any locomotive that is on those tracks will all activate at the same time and move, because they're all being supplied with power, unless you do something to change that. With digital, it's kind of different. You run alternating current through the rails, so AC power through the rails. And what happens is, each of the locomotives have a microchip, and with a digital controller, you can individually tell each locomotive when and how to move. And you can also control things like sounds and certain animations and stuff like that. So they have their benefits, you know, like for instance, on a digital system, you could run 2 trains at the same time. With my DC system, you really can only run one, because one engine will always draw more power than the other on an analog system, and so therefore the trains will not move at the same speed, and one might ram into the other eventually. Or you might short-circuit the system under certain circumstances. So what do I think? If I had a really big layout, I'm talking, just a lot of square footage, and there was a whole lot of track, I would definitely make it a digital system, so that way multiple trains could be run at the same time and individually controlled. But with this layout, I decided not to go with digital, and the reason why is it's so small. I mean, it is 4 feet by 8 feet, so it's not small in the sense, like, it's as big as, well, it's even bigger than, like, a bed, for instance, that's sitting in a room. It's much larger than the door to enter this room, but it's still small when it comes to what I can fit on the layout. There's no way, even with a digital system, that I could run 2 trains on the layout at the same time. There just isn't enough room for them to run at the same time. And so when I was building this one, I had to really consider whether I wanted to go a digital or regular analog. And I went with analog because it's cheaper, and it just felt right, like it made a lot of sense. So, and if you remember when I said that that the problem with analog is generally, if you have power to the rails, all the engines at the same time will run. So that's why you generally don't want more than one engine on the tracks at the same time. Well, that can be changed with these switches here. So there's 3 switches that you can see. These are little, I don't want to turn them on or off. Well, I can turn this one on or off. But they're the same kind of switches you would see, like, in an aircraft, But basically, I have wired the tracks in a certain way that 3 of the spur lines that come off of the main line, they can have their individual tracks isolated from the rest of the system. So the engine house, which has 2 rails in it, both of those are isolated from the main power. And by switching them on, I can supply power to them, or switching them off, I can remove power to them. So right now I have an engine in the engine house, and it's not moving. There's no power to it, because the switch to that specific track is shut off. And so that's how I run this DC system. This is the old school way of doing it. People who are older than me that always had DC layouts, or analog is what DC is. People who had analog layouts who wanted to have multiple trains on the same track, but wanted to be able to control them individually, had to do a system of blocks. So the system of blocks featured multiple sections of the main line or spur tracks that were isolated from the rest of the system, and by carefully maneuvering and moving the trains between those blocks, you could actually run multiple trains on the same layout. Had to be a really large layout, but you could do it, and that's how they got around it. And so I have a very small example of that, in the sense that I have 3 spur lines that are individually isolated, so I can keep the trains on the track without having them powered. So that's how I get around it. And I have thought about adding one more, because like this track right here that my finger is on, it is not isolated. So if I had a locomotive on this track right now, it would be running at the exact same time as this one, and that would be a problem because I couldn't control it individually. But I thought about putting that one on an isolated track, but then I thought I don't need to, so I'm like, I'm not going to do it. But yeah, so I prefer DC for very small layouts like this one, but for a very large layout, I definitely see a reason to go digital. So, yeah. Alright. Whoa. The chat skipped. Top impressive line. That's pretty cool. I don't know what the St. Lawrence Seaway is, though. Mark says, is your dad done doing the cooking channel? I'm just wondering because it's been a while since the last video. I liked watching him cook. Yeah, he is pretty much done with that channel. So, there's a couple of reasons why. One is because the only videos that were popular were the ones where he made Mexican food. And he doesn't want to make Mexican food all the time. One, because it's expensive, but two, because it's also time-consuming. And he didn't want to just be only a Mexican food channel. And then the other reason why he doesn't run the channel is because he doesn't have the time. You know, like, I tried to tell him before he started a YouTube channel, you know, I was like, it takes all your time to run a channel and to have it be as successful as mine. Because I think a lot of people look at me and they go, oh, what Alex does is easy. You know, he just makes videos. Like, but the term makes videos is a very loose term. Making a video is very, very, very difficult, especially for what I do. It takes a lot of research, a lot of effort. You're up day and night working on it. Sometimes I'm up till 4 in the morning working on videos. So, you know, it takes up all your time to do what I do, and run it like a business the way I do. So, you know, he started his channel and he was working on it, and he saw how long it took just for him to make the videos that he makes. And even then, the videos that he makes are actually, in my opinion, easy, because you just film what you're doing and then you smash it all together, add some music to it, and maybe some narration, and then you post it. That's easy. But even then, it's difficult. It's hard. It takes a lot of time. So, yeah. So, I think he kind of realized, he's like, I don't really have time for this, you know? And so, yeah, he didn't want to do that. I'm trying to see if maybe I can get him to start a different channel where he does something much easier than cooking, and you know, and probably talks about, like, you know, his favorite stuff, and, you know, it's like a content channel about movies and TV shows and stuff like that, like, you know, stuff that everybody around the world's interested in. I don't know, we'll see. I'm not sure he's really interested in that either, but I think he could do very well doing that kind of thing. The other thing, too, is when my dad had his cooking channel, I had to film him cooking, so he couldn't do it on his own. And I was fine helping him to start out, but it definitely did take away time from my day as well, because I had to film everything for him. So, yeah, that was definitely a problem. Kevin says, just sub to your train channel, Alex. Thank you. Bonnie says, is the foreground train an N gauge? My favorite size since I had an entire train set in the 70s. Shout out to Frank's Hobby Shop. No, there's no N-gauge trains anywhere on display. The only one is the HO Scale Challenger, which is up on the wall on that. I can't figure out how to, like, That shelf, there we go. That shelf has an HO scale Challenger, but otherwise, no. There's no N scale trains here. I had N scale a long time ago, and I wanted to love it, but you can't run these kinds of styles of trains in N scale. It just doesn't work. And I tried. I had a whole N scale layout that I built very carefully, and I had 440 engines that just didn't run. Like I'd buy, oh my gosh, I had 4 different 440 N scale engines at one point, and only one of them worked. The other 3 could barely even pull their own weight. You'd put them on the track, you'd turn on the power, the wheels would spin, the locomotive wouldn't move, because the tender was too heavy. I was like, what is the point of this? You know, like I'm like, I spent $150 on this locomotive, and right out of the box, it's not strong enough to pull its own weight. And so, yeah, I was like, oh my god, I was so mad. And I only had one 440 that was actually reliable, and ironically, it was the first one I ever got, and it was the Disneyland CK Holiday. It was a special Atlas 440 that was designed to look like the CK Holiday from Disneyland. And ironically, that one was my most reliable 440 because it actually could haul some weight. You could put like 6 or 8 cars behind it, and it would haul it just fine. And then eventually the traction tires on that locomotive wore out. It couldn't even pull its own weight after that. I tried using special materials that are designed to replace traction tires, and while I did get it installed, it just was so unreliable. I just gave that whole layout to my friend because he likes diesel trains and stuff, so he would have just bought little diesel engines. And if you're doing N scale with diesel engines, then you're fine, because they run perfectly in N scale. But little tiny steam locomotives in N scale just doesn't work. Doesn't work. So, okay, so some people are asking for the Esther locomotive. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So, alright, I'll need to put this train away. So what you're gonna see now is me backing the train into its storage track. So I stopped that. I have to switch the tracks by hand because I don't have powered switches. Yeah, I did think about installing powered switches, but ultimately I was just like, I don't have the patience for that. I'm not even kidding. I do not have the patience to install powered switch tracks. So now the train is going onto its storage track. Okay. And then I have to uncouple the cars. Unfortunately, the uncoupling tool that I have is actually broken, so it doesn't uncouple as well anymore. Alright, there we go. Move the locomotive forward. Okay. Then I'll switch this track. And then I can reverse the train back into the engine house. and then I turn off the power to that track, and then I turn on the power to the track next to it. Switch the switch on the tracks, and now I can bring out Esther. And I'll go ahead and bring Esther up close to one of the cameras so you can see some of the work that's been done. I don't know how well you can see that. Probably not very well. I have another camera I can move it up to. But basically, on the Esther locomotive, I have installed a cap stack on the top, because originally it had a fluted stack. And then I also added some new paint and brass details. So it has been quite altered, actually, from its original look, even though it doesn't seem so at first. But I'll go ahead and reverse it over to this camera so you can see it. Hopefully you can see it quite well. The wheels are also painted as well, which is another detail that you probably can't see. Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, you probably can't see that very well either. But I'll just go ahead and hook it up to some cars. I got my passenger cars over here. I'll need to switch that track. So there we go. So there's a rock wall on the layout that kind of hides the passenger train. Prevents the whole layout from looking too cluttered. All right. Switched. And now Esther is pulling the passenger train. So yeah. All the engines struggle around that turn because that's the tightest turn on the whole layout. And it's also slightly uphill, so they not only have to deal with the friction of going around a tight turn and the stresses of pulling a heavy train around the turn, but they also have to go uphill while doing it. So they slow down around that curve, but yeah. Yeah, from this distance you can't see too many of the details. I wish I had a photo on this computer that I could bring up the same way that I brought up the 440 photograph. I don't think I do. Alright, let's get to some comments. Barry says, when's your next Queen Mary live chat? I don't know what you mean. I don't do those. Let's see. Ron says, good afternoon, Alex. How are you? I'm doing well. Tom President Wine says, the St. Lawrence Seaway is a waterway that allows ships to sail from the North Atlantic to the Great Lakes. Okay, I know that one. Oh yeah, Conrad says, is my 36-month badge that of the famous Normandy? Yes, it is. So, if you've been a member of the channel for 36 months, yeah, you do have the Normandy poster on there. And the only one higher is the Queen Mary poster. I have to add more because as I have members who have obviously been on this channel for 36 months, and so I need to create more badges for them because they're going to exceed the next one. Hello, Leo's ships. Norse Nerdmeister says, Alex, it would be cool if you could build some scenery around your dad's Challenger locomotive and have a little force perspective going since it's smaller. I don't want the Challenger to be a part of the scenery of this layout. And I really only put the shelf there because of the fact that I wanted to put the shelf on this wall. You can't see what I'm pointing at, but this wall next to me. Funny story about that, actually. So I was going to put the shelf up on this wall, and right as I was about to drill through the wall, because I had to drill through the wall to create a hole for the screws, and I had a little voice in my head that says, you should check to see if there's electrical lines in the wall. But I was so confident, I'm like, no, there's no electricity in this wall. So what I did was I have a continuity tester, and it's right here. I'll get it for you. So the idea is that if you press the button and you hold the button down and you put it up against something electrical, it'll tell you if it's electrical. So these headphones, for instance, it tells you if it's electrical. So what I did was I put it up against the wall, and it just goes off, like beeping. And I'm like, okay, there's electricity there, and I'm moving it, and I'm moving it, and I'm moving it. The whole wall lights up. There's apparently all kinds of electrical, like, cables all through the wall. Just this one. That wall, not so much. That's why I was able to hang so many pictures and stuff. Like, if I remove these, hold on. There we go. If I remove those, you can see that I have paintings and stuff set up on the wall. And no problem, because there's no power on that wall. But this wall in front of me it's entirely powered. So that was actually pretty funny. I was like, oh geez, I almost electrocuted myself. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, I don't want the Challenger to be part of the layout. I really only put that shelf there because I realized I didn't have anywhere else to put it. And the reason why I don't want it to be part of the layout is because this layout is designed to be the 1890s, and the Challenger didn't come around until the 1920s. So it really wouldn't have matched very well. Okay, let's get to some comments here. Oh, Conrad says Conrad's asking maybe the person's talking about the Queen Mary live chat with Steve going over particular rooms. If that's what they mean, like where we do the lost places, we don't. Oh no. Why did that happen? Okay. It just completely uncoupled. Of course it doesn't want to couple back together. This thing. There we go. That was weird. For some reason it just uncoupled from those cars. It's never happened before. But like I said, there is a lot of like weight and forces on the front car as it goes around that curve. Oh, it did it again. It happens when it goes over that bridge. You know, I think I know what it is. So the tracks on that bridge are not perfectly glued down to the bridge because I wasn't ready for that step yet. And the problem is that when this room gets cold or hot, the tracks will expand or contract. And anything that isn't glued down will rise up or flatten out. And so on that bridge, sometimes the tracks rise up. And I think it's because since it's spanning one side of the layout to the other, and the tracks are cold, the tracks want to shrink down, and that pulls the tracks up since they're not glued down to the bridge. That's my guess, because it happens during the cold weather. So it seems that it's just going to keep uncoupling when it goes around that curve. Until I glue it down, of course. The only thing that would work is running a shorter train. So I could pull the freight train back out and have it pull that. But I mean, train with shorter cars. The shorter the cars, the more flexible it'll be, and yada yada yada. So I will switch out the train as soon as I can uncouple it back together. Okay. Let's do that again. Oh, oops. Well, you know, actually, instead of just switching out the cars back to the freight train, why don't I pull out the logging train, I mean. Might as well, because we still have a little bit of time left. Oh, wait, I gotta uncouple these. So the trick with this passenger train to put it back on its storage track is I have to uncouple it. Where's my uncoupling tool? So to push the train back onto its storage track, I have to uncouple it and then stick the couplers together in a certain way that they're not permanently together. They just allow the locomotive to push the train backwards. And then I push it all the way back onto its original tracks. And you can see it's uncoupled. Well, you probably can't see it actually. And then I can move the forney forward. There we go. And what I'll do is I'll put the forney away. What time is it? 2:13. Yeah, we got time for the logging train. Perfect. Shut off that. And then I gotta open the switch to the logging train. And if you look right over there, you can see that train is gonna move. Just making sure the train's going around okay. Alright, so yeah, everybody's talking about the uncoupling. Yeah, it's never uncoupled like that before, but it did happen to my other forney, the one that I had to change the couplers out. Yeah, and it always happened on that bridge too. That bridge is just cursed, but it's because I have to glue the track down. I think I will. I think it's just time to do it. The other bridge as well, the one way in that corner, is not glued down either. But that one's almost always flat. Like, I never have any problems with that one. Yeah. so I got 15 more minutes on this. I've been trying something new where I'm scheduling out my day, because it's I can't even stress enough how busy I am on a daily basis. It is ridiculous. I never get to do anything that I need to do because I'm so busy with everything. And so it's gotten to the point where there's like projects I need to work on and then I never get to them. So I've been actually using Chat GPT to help me schedule out my day. And it worked really well yesterday. And then today I was actually able to like wake up at a specific time, because sometimes I'm just so exhausted by the end of the day that I end up sleeping in because I did so much the day before and I spent the entire day working on stuff. So I was actually, due to the schedule yesterday, I was able to wake up at a certain time today and then do what I need to do. I got exercise, which was crazy because I never have time for exercise. That's one of the reasons why I've been getting fatter and fatter, is because I spend so much time on the computer working on videos and I have no time to exercise. So I actually had time this morning to exercise, and then I scheduled out my whole day. I got a video filmed, I had time for breakfast, which was amazing. I actually don't eat that much. You can ask my friends. I eat like a bird compared to them, yet I still blow up in size. But yeah, and then I was able to do this live stream, and if I stick to my schedule, then at 2:30 I have to place an order for groceries. And yeah, I got my whole day planned out to the minute. It's crazy. I have my whole day planned out to the minute, and I'm like really excited. And I also purchased what they call it, like an under desk elliptical. So it's like those ellipticals at a gym where like you stand on it and you kind of like walk, but this one's designed for underneath your desk. So that way, as I'm working on videos, I'm doing video editing, I can like get exercise as I'm working on videos. So I'm excited. That should arrive later. The only other thing is that I keep forgetting to drink water. So I have my glass of water. I do not have the sensation of thirst. That might be really puzzling to some people. I'm like, what? Wait, what? You don't feel... I don't feel thirsty, ever. Never. So I actually have a problem where I can go for days without water and not realize it. And the only time I realize it is all of a sudden I feel very run down. I feel like I get heart palpitations and stuff. And that's when I realize, I'm like, oh, did I drink any water? And then someone's be like, oh my gosh, I haven't drank water since Wednesday, So that's been happening to me a lot lately because I've been forgetting to drink water. Like I said, I never feel thirsty. There's only been a few times here and there where I'm so dehydrated that I finally feel thirsty, and then I'll just drink a bunch of water and stuff like that, So, but it is kind of scary because if you don't have the sensation of thirst, you can get dehydrated and it can lead to some serious health issues. So, I have to find like an app or something that will remind me every hour to drink a certain amount of water, because I won't remember. I'm so busy, like I don't even remember. So, yeah. My sister has the same problem, actually. My sister also doesn't have the sensation of thirst. So she will have the exact same issues I will. She'll be at work, and then she'll realize that she hadn't drank water at all the entire day. And it just doesn't feel good. Yep, everyone drink lots of water. See, even right now, I don't want to drink this. I literally don't want to drink this I am not thirsty, but I have to because I know I'm dehydrated. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that. Like, have you ever just been not thirsty, but you know you should drink something, and you're just like, ugh, I don't want to drink this because I'm not thirsty. Well, that's how I feel. I have to get through this glass of water before the next 10 minutes. And I don't know that I can do it. But, it's like crazy. There's dehydration tests that you can do on yourself. If you like pinch the skin between your index finger and your thumb, the really loose skin there, and you look to see how quickly it snaps back. If it takes a while for it to snap back like it's doing with me, you're dehydrated. And yeah, it's like you can do the same thing with the soft skin under your eyelid. You pinch that for a short while, let go, and you see how quickly it returns to its normal shape. For me, it always takes forever. K4RNA, thank you so much for the donation. A small donation for the Tumble Rock Canyon Railroad. Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys, that's what this layout is called, is the Tumble Rock Canyon Railroad, named after this canyon here. Conrad says, do you not want to drink something right now because it makes you feel awful or overfull? Kinda, yeah. It's hard to describe because I don't know if anybody else experiences that sensation either. But it's not that I feel overfull. Like, it's not like my stomach feels full and I'm like, oh, I can't fit any more water. Like, that's not what it feels like. It just feels like all I can say is it feels like eating when you're not hungry. You know, but of course you don't have to have a full stomach to not be hungry, you know. Maybe like if you've ever been really frustrated or you're under a lot of stress and you just don't feel hungry and you feel like if you try to force feed yourself something when you're stressed, you just don't want it. You just want to spit it out. You're just like, I don't want this. Like, you know, that's how it feels all the time for me. It's a chore for me to drink something, because anything, honestly, it's a chore for me to like drink water. It's a chore for me to drink coffee or like juice. I don't drink energy drinks. I don't drink soda. Only on very special occasion will I drink soda, but I actually only drink water, coffee, juice, or tea. So it's like yeah, it's just a constant sensation of not wanting to drink anything because I don't crave it. And it's tough during tea times too. You guys have probably seen that I'll go through the whole tea time without drinking the tea because I forget it's there and I never crave it. And so, like, yeah, it's insane. It's an insane sensation to not feel thirsty all the time. And then you can feel yourself becoming dehydrated. You can feel like your whole body slowing down and you're having a tough time thinking, and you have, like, seriously, like, you can get a stroke from not drinking enough water. I'm not even kidding. So I am always worried about that. I'm like, oh God, like, am I going to give myself a heart attack or a stroke just because I don't drink enough water? You know, so yeah, it is like, it is just insanity. So I have 5 minutes left. Let's try to chug some of this water down. I just don't want it. I think to myself, okay, I'm going to get to the bottom of this glass. But then halfway through, I'm just like, I can't. No, it's just, ugh. Yeah. So, let's see. Mark says, I drink beer, but I mostly drink water. That's funny. Conrad says, it's easy for me to say, but what about getting into the habit of one gulp every 15 minutes, keeping a container in the center of the room? I do something similar. I always keep a full glass of water right beside me. But the problem is that because I don't ever feel thirsty, and in fact I feel the opposite of thirsty, I never remember to drink the water. So that's the problem. Like, throughout most of this live stream, I've had this glass next to me, and I haven't drank a sip of water from it until, like, the last couple minutes. Because I honestly forgot it was there. But I always keep a full glass of water beside me so I can drink something. And I recently, actually, I'm still waiting for it to arrive, but I bought one of those giant gallon-sized water bottles that tells you, like, what time of... Like, it tells you every hour of the day to drink water. And I bought one of those, but I don't know how successful I'll be because I'll just keep forgetting to drink water. So I need my phone to, like, ring or something to remind me to drink water. But the clock app on my phone doesn't do that kind of thing. I would basically have to, like, reset the timer every single time. And I think there will be time... I've tried it in the past, and I forget to reset the timer. So, yeah, I need, like, an app or something that will tell me, like, literally every hour. It's like, drink water. Or every 15 minutes, because sometimes I just can't get through a full glass of water. Conrad says, I thought Oregon had good tasting water. It does. We have the water we have here in Oregon is so good. I drink it right out of the tap. When I lived in Southern California, you couldn't really do that. The water tasted terrible. It tasted like old pipes. I'm not even kidding. The water tasted so bad in Southern California. But here in Oregon, the water is delicious. It tastes like mountain spring water. And that kind of is because it is, sort of, you know, when you think about it. But yeah, the water's good. It's just because I'm not thirsty, my body doesn't want to drink it, you know. There's actually been a few times where I drank water and I got, like, violently sick from, like you know, kind of sick, because I did not want the water. I did not want it so badly that my body threw it up. So that's... Isn't that insane? Isn't that absolutely crazy? I don't think I've ever really talked about it. I probably mentioned it a few times here and there, but I've never talked about it this much. But yeah, I do have difficulty drinking anything. Conrad says, you need a little timer that makes like a rain or babbling brook sound. Yeah, I think so. Oh, Ken is on his way out. Alright, Ken, see you later. Oh, it actually is time for me to end my live stream now, too. I gotta stick with my schedule, or else I'll completely get everything out of whack. But anyway, folks, from now on, all train stuff will be on my other train channel. The link is in the description below. It's called Alex the Railroader. It is my very first YouTube channel, actually, and it's been abandoned for a long time. but I'm going to be posting stuff there from now on, and yeah, all train stuff, and including train live streams and stuff like that will be on that channel as well. But I needed to make this live stream in order to tell you guys that I'm ending the train stuff on this channel. Yeah, and is anything else? I don't know when the next tea time will be, but I'm going to try to do tea times on this channel more, or try to get back into it, I should say. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. And I hope you enjoy the content that will be coming out. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye, everyone.